Good day, everyone. Michael, me, back for another. We shouldn't really probably call these reviews anymore, right? Because they're not really reviews. Back for another chat about this time Lionheart. Van Damme is Lionheart. This is another MVD Rewind release. This is number 8. I have grown up. I was born in 83. I am now 35. I have grown up watching Van Damme films my entire life. I wanted to be Van Damme. I really did. I tried to get the haircut like him. Didn't have the right widow's peak. My cowlicks were all off. Also, the body, like literally the body probably should have been the main indicator that I would not be like Van Damme. But anyway, and I watched everything of his growing up, everything, and I loved everything. I absolutely loved everything. And Lionheart was one of the films that I loved. I watched it so many times. Now, it's been years since I've watched it, and it hasn't aged very well. It's definitely a 90s film. It is, holy Moses, is it ever a 90s film. It's got neon colors everywhere, the sexy sax music playing, the villainess with the short spiky hair and the power suits and the rhinestone dresses, Van Damme with his pants up to his nipples. It's got everything that a 90s Van Damme film was known for. It's, when was it released? 1990, I think? Yeah, 1990. So it was right on the cusp of ending of the 80s, coming into the 90s. So you really got that extra cheese layer on this movie. If you don't know what Lionheart's about, Lionheart, Leon, Jean-Claude Van Damme plays Leon, and his brother is... He's kind of like a criminal, gets set on fire at the beginning of the film. Spoiler alert. And he kind of calls for he wants his brother back. And so his wife sends a letter to Jean-Claude Van Damme's character, Leon, who's in the French Legionnaire. And the Legionnaire, he's in the French army, and they won't let him go back to see his brother before he dies, kind of thing. So Jean-Claude Van Damme basically goes AWOL. He leaves. He goes to America on a boat. Don't worry, you get tons of topless Van Damme sweatiness with him shoveling coal into a steamboat, and the muscles are rippling, and the sweat's pouring off of him, and the pants are hiked up. And he goes and he ends up in New York, but he wants to get to LA. So he kind of ends up in a fight club before it was Fight Club. Underground fighting where he gets paid if he wins. And I mean, come on, it's Van Damme. Of course he's going to win. He does a whole bunch of freaking slow, high kicks that in a normal fight would never actually work. Trust me, I've tried. I nearly pulled my groin. Lip busted for it. So he gets an underground kind of fighting system. He kind of teams up with a guy. I don't know if it's Harrison Page. It could be Harrison Page, I think, that he teams up with. That's kind of like his coach, his mentor is. And they go to LA, and he meets his Jesus Christ, I did this with the last review. His sister-in-law. There we go. His brother's wife, and his brother has died. Spoiler alert. And he gets into kind of like the fighting system. A whole bunch of fights in the movie, but he gives some money to his sister-in-law. She doesn't want it, but she eventually gets it. And then there's the French Legionnaire is after him as well. These two guys are after him. Blah, blah, blah. Basically, it's just to have a fight. Fights after fights. There's like fights in a squash court. There's fights in a swimming pool with so much freaking neon bikinis. There's a fight in a car garage with all the cars round and all the like business suit men. and it's all leading up to the big fight where Van Damme has to like fight for his life kind of thing and redeem himself and blah blah blah. It's a Van Damme film. It's basically the same plot in every film. The only thing this one doesn't have is it doesn't have a twin, but he has a fighting. He fights. It's basically Bloodsport, but not. It's Lionheart. Anyway, that's the movie. I've talked about it long enough. I love it, but it's cheesy. It's 90s cheese. It's Lionheart. MVD Rewind. They have gone above and beyond. It's incredible what they've done with this release. They have given it's a Blu-ray and a DVD. They've given you two cuts of the film. They give you the theatrical cut, and then they gave you an extended cut. The theatrical cut is 104 minutes. The extended cut is 110 minutes. I've never seen the extended cut before. I watched it. I have no idea what was different. If that tells you anything. Absolutely no idea what was different. I'd have to watch the theatrical cut, but I was not going to watch the theatrical cut right after watching the extended cut. I can tell you the transfer of the extended cut is a little kind of iffy every once in a while. The transfer kind of it degrades, and then you can see scene shifts. So it looks like they're using from different sources. From what I've heard, the theatrical cut is fine. It's fine looking all the way through. Original 2.0 stereo audio, uncompressed PCM on the Blu-ray, and 5.1 surround. I watched it in uncompressed 2.0 stereo. I was fine with it. Didn't have any issues. We also have English, French, and Spanish subtitles. It says on the main feature. I don't know if that means the theatrical version. I'm not entirely sure with that. That doesn't really give you much info, does it? Archival audio commentary by Sheldon Littich, who was the director of the film, and Harrison Page, who was the guy, on extended cut only. So that one, the archival audio commentary is on the extended cut only. There's also a new Lionheart, The Inside Story, which is 48 minutes, and that includes interviews with Jean-Claude Van Damme, director, co-writer Sheldon Littich, producer Eric Carson, and stars Harrison Page, Deborah Renard, and Brian Thompson. Oh yeah, Brian Thompson's in this, the go-to bad guy. He's kind of funny in this. Kind of reminds me a little bit of his performance in... I probably should have thought of the film before I was going to reference it. It is... I don't think I can see it over there. I have reviewed it before. It's the one where he is pretending to be a gay photography guy for models. If that tells you anything. Arrow Video released it. Okay, where was I? So really cool making of. Then they have Inside Lionheart with the filmmakers and cast, which is 26 minutes. That's an all-new documentary featuring interviews with cast and crew, including Jean-Claude Van Damme. So there's even more. They even talk about Lionheart even more. I mean, like, Jesus, how much more can you talk about this movie? And then there's an archival making of, which was only like 9 minutes. There is a new Lionheart Behind the Fights, which is interviews with the cast and crew again. Jesus. And then there's an archival interview with Sheldon Littich, which is 26 minutes. And then there's an archival interview with Harrison Page, which is 13 minutes. And then there's 5 promotional TV clips, which are in standard definition. And then there's behind-the-scenes photo gallery. Then there's an original theatrical trailer. And it also includes a mini poster, which I will take out. What's funny is when you watch the extended cut, the movie is actually called Leon, not Lionheart. This movie had several different names. Originally it was going to be called Wrong Bet, which kind of ties into the movie. You'd have to watch it. I'm not going to spoil that. But yeah, there was tons of different titles. So there's the cover. Same as the slip cover here, just minus the little cool old VHS rental store stickers. There's the MVD does not put anything on their disc for some reason. They just go very bland with the disc, which is weird. But they do include a little mini poster, so that's cool. Look at this. Look at this. I'm going to read this. When the streets are a jungle, there can only be one king. Jean-Claude Van Damme is Lionheart. You can't tell me you don't love this movie. I mean, it's cheesy. It's hilarious. It's 90s. It's Van Damme. It's action. It's fighting. Van Damme actually does some acting in it. He emotes. He's actually a good actor. Hey, I'll say it. He's a good actor. And he can kick some ass. So, Van Damme, Lionheart, MVD Rewind, number 8 in the series. Definitely buy. Of course, I say that pretty much about everything, except Curse of the Cat, people. This fucking film is boring as shit. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.